So good afternoon, dear students. Prakhar, Suhani, Arya Singh, Kalyani, Mansi, Arya, Divedi, Bhagasri, and Bhuneshwar. Good afternoon to all of you, dear students. Today we are going to learn from this from this page. I think let me think. See once. I'll tell you. Yeah, from here I think we've done up to this. Now we'll start from, okay, so we'll start from here, from here. Okay, waiting for some students, some more students to join. Dear students, okay, so uh, good afternoon, Nidhi, Utkarsh, Bhuneshwar, Bhagasri. Good afternoon, all of you. So today we are going to continue from this page, as you can see right onto your screen, page number 34 onward. So Dr. Sadav has already undertaken the work of surgery. So he is already involved into it. He is already into it. Now let's find out what happens, whether the surgery is easy or it's very painful. Let's find out. It might be complicated for Dr. Sada, but as he is very expert in this particular respect, so I hope it is going to be a very, I mean, not so difficult task for Dr. Sada, because Dr. Sada has been, like perfecting a surgery, okay, wound surgery, and moreover, he had specialty in surgery, okay. So let's find out. This man, he thought there is no reason under heaven why he should live. So while he was giving his help, or you can say where he, in spite of the fact that he was operating on the patient, on the American prisoner of war, in spite of the fact that he was rendering his assistance to cure the American prisoner of war, but in spite of that, he has some negative thought about this American prisoner of war, because like America and Japan were enemies, okay. So enemy soldier, he was treating enemy soldier. So whenever like sometimes it so happens that the evil part of us, okay, the evil part or the negative part of us tend to manifest, and but if we are good human beings, it will not prevail on us. Of course, we shall go back to the good conscience, and we shall do the good work. But still, as Dr. Sadao is a human being, so sometimes it so happens that the negative part of our personality, that tends to surface itself. So this is one of the examples, where his negative trait, or you can say negative bent of mind for the American prisoner of war, has come to surface here. Okay, with this statement, there is no reason under heaven why he should live, because America is our enemy. Unconsciously, this thought made him ruthless, and he proceeded swiftly. In his dream, the man moaned, but Sadao paid no heed except to mutter at him. Okay, so because the patient was in his unconscious state, and he was moaning. Moaning means he was groaning with pain, but Sadao paid no heed. Sadao did not pay any kind of attention except muttering at him. Okay, except muttering at him, because he was a bit annoyed at the fact that number one, there was some underlying tension in his mind, like how will the government react, and number two, it was observed that sometimes the negative thought about the enemy country also comes to his mind. So groan, he muttered, groan if you like, I'm not doing this for my own pleasure. In fact, I do not know why I'm doing it. So from this statement also you can understand that like even though Dr. Sada was busy operating the American soldier, but in spite of that, he has some negative thought about his patient at hand. Okay, so that is why sometimes he is making such statements. The doctor opened and there was Hannah again. Okay, the door opened and there was Hannah again. Again, Hannah came. Yeah, where is the anesthetic? She asked in a clear voice. Sadao motioned with his chin. It is as well that you came back. It's good that you have come back. That is what Sadao said to his wife, that is Hannah. This fellow is beginning to star. And this patient of mine, this patient is beginning to star. Star means he is beginning to come to life. Okay, star means beginning to come to life. This patient is beginning to come to life. Okay, next you see, she had the bottle and some cotton in her hand. She had the bottle and some cotton in her hand. She had brought that anesthesia, it seems. So we'll find out what exactly has she brought. Okay, so door opened and there was Hannah again. Okay, then here you see here this fellow. Okay, she had the bottle and some cotton in her hand. But how shall I do it? She asked. Okay, how to administer anesthesia? Then her husband, that is Dr. Sadao, instructs her how to apply anesthesia to the unconscious American soldier. Simply saturate the cotton and hold it near his nostrils. Okay, saturate karo usko. Okay, just make it wet. Okay, with the solution that you have brought, and then keep it near his nostrils. So when it breathes, it will go inside. Okay. Sadao replied without delaying for one moment. Sadao replied without delaying for one moment the intricate details of his work. When he breathes badly, move it away a little. Okay, but he also gives her some instruction also. Like for example, he instructs her when he will breathe badly, or we can say more deeply, then you remove the thing from it. Okay, remove the cotton away from his nostrils. She crouched close to the sleeping face of the young American. It was a piteously thin face, she thought, and the lips were twisted. The man was suffering, whether he knew it or not. Watching him, she wondered if the stories they heard sometimes of the sufferings of prisoners were true. They came like flickers of humor, told by word of mouth and always contradicted. In the newspapers, the reports were always that wherever the Japanese armies went, the people received them gladly, with cries of joy at their liberation. Okay, so she crouched close to the sleeping face of the young American. So who was crouching? It was Hannah. Hannah was crouching close to the sleeping face, crouching close to the sleeping face of the young American. Then what happened? The man was suffering. The man was really suffering. He was groaning because of pain. Actually, Dr. Sada was operating on the wound. So wound was so deep and so painful that the man started groaning in his sleep. Actually, okay, in his unconscious mind, he was groaning because he was suffering a lot, because the wound was a deep wound actually. Okay, and he was bleeding profusely at the same time. The man was suffering whether he knew it or not. Watching him, she wondered if the stories they heard sometimes of the sufferings of prisoners were true. They came like flickers of humor, told by word of mouth and always contradicted. Okay, so when Hannah was a student, or might be a teen, she heard about the stories that sometimes the prisoners of war were subjected to. Okay, the stories of the sufferings of the prisoners of war. Now, after having come across this live experience of handling a American prisoner, now she's wondering about their plight. Okay, and she is believing this now because she can see it in front of her that the prisoners of war really lead a very pathetic life. They came like flickers of rumor told by word. They means here the stories of the prisoners actually, okay. But they were sometimes always contradicted actually. But now she could see that no, they should not be contradicted. They really do suffer actually. They do really suffer. In the newspapers, the reports were always that wherever the Japanese armies went, the people received them gladly with cries of joy at their liberation. But sometimes she remembered such men as General Takima, who at home beat his wife cruelly, though not no one mentioned it now that he had fought so victorious battle in Manchuria. If a man like that could be so cruel to a woman in his power, would he not be cruel to one like this, for instance? Okay, so General Takima is the ruler of Japan at that time. Okay, so General Takima is very cruel. So now she's wondering if he was so cruel with his wife, why not he will be cruel with Dr. Sadao also? Because Dr. Sadao has harbored or sheltered an enemy soldier, and Dr. Sadao was also operating on the wound of the American soldier. So General Takima will certainly become cruel even with Dr. Sadao. That is what actually she thinks. Okay, Sadao's wife thinks, that is Hana thinks. She hoped anxiously that this young man had not been tortured. It was at this moment that she observed deep red scars on his neck, just under the ear. Those scars, she murmured, lifting her eyes to Sadao. But he did not answer. At this moment, he felt the tip of his instrument strike against something hard. Okay, so in the process of doing surgery, suddenly, Sadao could feel the tip of his instrument strike against something very hard. And dear students, this is nothing but the bullet actually. Bullet has penetrated deep into the wound actually. Okay, the bullet is still there inside, so bullet has to be taken out dangerously near the kidney. My goodness, it is dangerously means, can you imagine to what extent it has become penetrated inside the body? It has gone inside the near the kidney. It has gone even near the kidney actually, right? So it's such a serious wound, it's such a you can say such a major case actually. It's not something very minor. It's not a simple wound. It's a bullet wound, and the bullet has penetrated deep inside the body near the kidney. Okay, so you can imagine how much pain. He is unconscious, and even in his unconsciousness he is having such a huge severe pain. That is why he is sometimes wailing, or sometimes he is like he's screaming. Okay, sometimes. So that is the reason. Okay, the bullet wound is so deep. The bullet has gone so deep inside. It has got deep inside. Now you see, um, all thought left him. He felt only the purest pleasure. Why do you think Sadao felt the purest pleasure? Because he was going to be a success in his surgery. He was definitely going to be a success in the surgery. So that is why he proved with his fingers, delicately familiar with every atom of this human body. His old American professor of anatomy had seen to that knowledge. Ignorance of the human body is the surgeon's cardinal sin, sirs. He had thundered at his classes year after year. So he's reminded, Dr. Sadao is reminded of his old American professor of anatomy. Okay, and anatomy, you understand, those who have studied biology, or those of you who are studying biology, you must be knowing what is human anatomy. Okay, so Dr. Sadao said that Dr. Sadao was reminded of his American professor of anatomy, who used to say, if you are ignorant of human body parts or body organs, then it is a major sin for a surgeon. A surgeon has to know each and every part, each and every organ of human beings. Okay, otherwise it's very difficult. Otherwise, it's a sin that it is a sin. Means it means that he means to say that you have to be thoroughly um, aware of all the uh, body parts or body organs of human beings. If you claim yourself to be a surgeon, okay, he had hundred at his classes year after year. Okay, might be some of the students were having some confusion regarding any of the body parts or body organs. Therefore, the professor used to say in this manner, to operate without as complete knowledge of the body as if you had made it, anything less than that is murder. Okay, so it is nothing less than murder actually. If you do not know to operate without as complete knowledge of the body. So if you start operating a patient without having the complete knowledge of the body, then you are doing a kind of a crime which is similar to that of committing murder. Okay, so that is what was the opinion of the anatomy professor. Okay, he used to say to operate without as complete knowledge of the body as if you had made it, anything less than that is murder. So you cannot afford to do murder. You cannot afford to do murder. If so, therefore, a surgeon has to know every bit of thing about the human body. Okay, that was the opinion of the professor of anatomy in US. It is not quite at the kidney, my friend Sadao murmured. It was his habit to murmur to the patient when he forgot himself in an operation. Okay, so it was his character traits. Like whenever he used to operate on a patient, he he would murmur to the patient. Okay, so this time he said it is not quite at the kidney, my friend. He was talking to the patient. My friend, he always called his patients, and so now he did, forgetting that this was his enemy. Okay, he always used to address his patient as my friend, Dr. Sadao. And this time also, as he is habitual of addressing his patient as my friend, therefore this time he has forgotten that he is operating on his enemy patient, right? So he's forgotten. So like other patients, he's also addressing this patient as my friend. Then quickly, with the cleanest and most precise of incisions, incision means cut, the bullet was out. Then quickly, Dr. Sadao, with the cleanest and most precise of incisions, he made some cut actually, because bullet has to be taken out of the body. So certain incisions are required, some cuts are required. So with the most precise cut, the bullet was taken out. The man quivered means shook, but he was still unconscious. Still, he was unconscious. Nevertheless, he muttered a few English words. Okay, guards, he muttered, choking. They got my guards. They got my guards. Sadao, Hannah cried sharply. Hush, Sadao said. The man sank again into silence so profound that Sadao took up his wrist, hating the touch of it. Okay. The man sank again into silence. Again, he became silent. The man, after saying, "They got my guards." Okay, means he was reminded of the torture that he was inflicted by the enemy soldiers. Okay. Anyway, so yes, there was still a pulse so faint, so feeble, but enough. If he wanted the man to live, to give hope. But certainly, I don't want this man to live, he thought. But again, he comes back to the negative thoughts, saying that I don't want to restore this patient. I don't want to revive this patient. Okay, this is what. Whenever he comes back to consciousness, whenever he comes back to reality, and he thinks that whatever he is doing might not be correct in the eye of the government, so he becomes a bit pessimist, and then he says, I do not want this man to leave. No more anesthetic, he told Hannah, and he told Hannah not to give any more anesthesia. He turned as swiftly as though he had never paused, and from his medicines he chose a small vial, and from it filled a hypodermic and thrust it into the patient's left arm. Okay, so that is like hypodermic syringe and all that he was injecting the patient, I think, on the left arm. Then putting down the needle, he took the man's wrist again. The pulse under his fingers fluttered. once or twice and then grew stronger, right? So might be his pulse was very faint, that is why he was administering some injection, okay, into the left arm of the patient, right? But this man will live in spite of all. Okay, then Sadao comes up with this judgment. He said to Hannah and side, he said, "This man will live. Okay, he will not die." The young man woke so weak, his blue eyes so terrified when he perceived where he was, that Hannah felt compelled to apologize. Hannah was feeling compelled to apologize. Okay, Hannah was feeling compelled to apologize, the fact that apologize to the fact that that like like they didn't want actually, they wanted, but like they were scared of the government. So that is why might be they said all this. The young man woke so weak, his blue eyes so terrified when he perceived where he was. And when he perceived where he was inside the house of somebody, he became very scared. That Hannah felt compelled to apologize. She herself served him, for none of the servants would enter the room. Okay, so because Hannah did serve him, okay, no servant helped her out in serving this, right, in serving this American prisoner. That is why she said she herself served him, for none of the servants would enter the room. When she came in the first time, she saw him summon his small strength to be prepared for some fearful thing. "Don't be afraid," she begged him softly. "How come you speak English?" he gasped. "How come you speak English?" he gasped. So he was not knowing the fact that he is in the house of a person who know little bit, who know English, because American soldier was not supposed to know this, because it's a Japanese house, right? So how come you speak English? He gasped. "I was a long time in America," she replied. She saw that he wanted to reply to that, but he could not. And so she knelt and fed him gently from the porcelain spoon. He ate unwillingly, but still he ate. Okay, he was not so interested to, willing to eat, but still he ate. "Now you will soon be strong," she said, not liking him and yet moved to comfort him. He did not answer. When Sadao came in the third day after the operation, he found the young man sitting up, his face bloodless with the effort. "Lie down," Sadao cried. "Do you want to die?" He forced the man down gently and strongly and examined the wound. "You may kill yourself if you do this sort of thing." Then Dr. Sadao became angry with him. "Don't try to get up, just lie down. Don't try to get up. You just lie down. You need complete rest. If you don't do so, you may kill yourself." "What are you going to do with me?" the boy muttered. He looked just now barely 17. "Are you going to hand me over?" For a moment, Sadao did not answer. He finished his examination and then pulled the silk quilt over the man. "I do not want myself. I don't know myself what I shall do with you," he said. "I ought, of course, to give you to the police. You are a prisoner of war. No, do not tell me anything." He put up his hand as he saw the young man was about to speak. "Do not even tell me your name unless I ask it." He was showing his anger on the American prisoner. Okay, and when American prisoner asked him, "What are you going to do with me? I think you are going to hand me over to the police." Then Sadao replied, "I don't know what I am going to do with you. Okay, I am not sure about it." And then he said, "You do not talk much, okay, and do not tell me your name also unless I ask you so." Right? They looked at each other for a moment. They were looking at each other for a moment, and then the young man closed his eyes and turned his face to the wall. "Okay," he whispered, his mouth a bitter line. Outside the door, Hannah was waiting for Sadao. He saw at once that she was in trouble. Um, "Sadao, Yomi tells me the servants feel they cannot stay if we hide this man here anymore," she said. "She tells me that they are saying that you and I were so long in America that we have forgotten to think of our own country first. They think we like Americans." Okay, so Hannah has come up with the Hannah has come up with the suggestion. Hannah has come up with kind of an advice. Okay, I mean not advice. concerned, you can say. Hannah has come up with a kind of an advice to her husband saying that the servants think that that we like Americans. That is why we have sheltered this young man, and if we continue to shelter this young man, then the servants will certainly leave our house. That is what they are threatening us with. Okay, so this is what Hannah tells her husband, Dr. Sadao. So we shall find out what happens and what is the reply of Dr. Sadao tomorrow. Okay, so dear students, that's it for the day. I hope you have understood till what I have taught you, and in case you have any doubt, please let me ask in between. Okay, or you might ask me tomorrow at the beginning of the lesson. Okay, thank you dear students, bye bye, and it's time for me to wind up the lesson. Okay, so have a nice time, and before you leave, please do mark your presence. Please do text me with P, and then you can leave. Thank you so much.